Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry to hold you up. Let me first and foremost, I know she was here earlier and had to leave, but I want to start with significant recognition for Councilwoman Janie Blackwell, who provided tremendous leadership. She provided tremendous leadership in this particular initiative and, of course, continues every day to demonstrate her dedication to the children of the city as chair of the City Council Education Committee. Also, of course, Council President Darrell Clark and all the members of City Council for their continued support of our students and public education here in Philadelphia. Eva Gladstein is the Executive Director, of course, of the Mayor's Office of Community Empowerment and Opportunity, CEO, and her staff. Can we please recognize Eva and Mary and the entire team back there? Thank you. Advocates and business community leaders who have shown united support for this very, very important topic, and I want to commend the business community for their smarts on universal pre-K and making investments in our children. Certainly to our policy office, Maya and Katie and David, all of whom played a significant role in getting us to today. But one person in particular I'd like to highlight because Maya and Katie and David always get recognition for any number of things, although you can never recognize good folks too much. But Andrea Michelson, where is Andrea? Andrea is an intern in the policy office, but actually put together a ton of material to make today possible and the meeting that took place earlier. So why don't we have full, complete embarrassment for Andrea and give her a big, big round of applause. Yes, she is thoroughly embarrassed. That was the goal, yes. So good afternoon to all of you. Thanks for coming. Today's announcement, of course, moves Philadelphia one step closer toward expanding high-quality educational opportunities for the children of our city and, most importantly, figuring out how to pay for it. Since my first day in office, I've said that if we want a better educated, more skilled and capable workforce that helps to grow our economy and make Philadelphia a safer and more prosperous city, then we must make education our #1 priority. My administration has, and the citizens of this city have as well. In May, Philadelphians overwhelmingly supported the creation of an independent commission on universal pre-kindergarten, with more than 80% of the voters approving a ballot question on this subject. The commission will be charged with helping to chart a plan on how to bring high-quality pre-K to students, while also making proposals on how to pay for the program. To be clear, this commission's work will be no simple task. We didn't arrive at this moment without some challenges, and our goals remain ambitious, as they should be. But this is a real opportunity to do right by our children, and I am fully confident that in working together, we will ultimately get it right. Excuse me. And so with that, in partnership with Philadelphia City Council, I'm proud to announce the establishment of the commission, which will draft an implementation and funding plan for the provision of universal, high-quality pre-K without, and this is very important, without taking away funds from existing educational programs in our city. This commission, which just concluded their first meeting, so they are already up and running. What an enthusiastic bunch. I think this is the first commission that ever we announced had a meeting before the announcement of the commission, but they just couldn't wait. Made up of 17 members. 5 have been appointed by me, 5 have been appointed by City Council, along with 2 members of City Council and the following ex officio members. From the city, the Director of Commerce, the Director of Finance, and the Commissioner of Human Services. From the school district, the superintendent, and from the state, the Deputy Secretary of the Office of Child Development and Early Learning. The distinguished individuals whom I'm about to introduce make up a diverse group of experts, advocates, parents, and members of the community. They understand the importance of early learning and what it means for our city. Their expertise and perspectives will help us continue to move forward greatly on the issue of education, moving us, of course, in the right direction. And so first, let me introduce our co-chairs. Sharon Easterling is the Executive Director of the Delaware Valley Association for Education of Young Children. For more than 20 years, Sharon has been at the helm of this leading organization, which is committed to training education professionals in best practices and coaching programs. Unfortunately, our other co-chair could not be here today as much as she wanted to be, and that's Loretta Sweet Jamont. She is the incoming Vice President for Health and Health Equity at Drexel University. Dr. Jamont is one of the nation's foremost researchers in the field of HIV/AIDS prevention among African American adolescents. She has worked with organizations like the Philadelphia Urban League, the Housing Authority, and the Health Department's HIV Commission Community Prevention Planning Group to implement and evaluate HIV prevention programs, and has been widely recognized for her expertise in building community-university partnerships around this work. I'm going to ask, as I introduce the members, to please stand when your name is called. Again, Councilwoman Janie Blackwell, who I know was here earlier, could not stay. She was called away, but certainly has her staff here. Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown, I talked to her this morning. She also could not attend today, and I know her staff is here with us as well. Alan Greenberger, on the other hand, is here. He's the Director of Commerce for the City of Philadelphia and is already standing. I love that. Catherine Blunt, I know, always. Catherine Blunt, former principal of Parkway Center City High School. Diane Calsalbono, Deputy Chief for Early Childhood Education School District of Philadelphia. Donna Cooper, Executive Director of Public Citizens for Children and Youth. Jennifer Duffy, Principal of Henry Lee Elementary School. Lisa Nutter, President of Philadelphia Academies Incorporated. Michelle Figler, Deputy Secretary, Pennsylvania Department of Education. Miriam Calderon, Senior Advisor for Early Learning for Commonweal Foundation. I'm going to say Fang Lim, Principal of Fax Charter School. Reuben Jones, Frontline Dads Incorporated. Rob Dubow, Director of Finance for the City of Philadelphia, I think already standing. Vanessa Garrett-Harley, Commissioner of the Human Services for the City of Philadelphia. Commissioner, please give them all a big round of applause. I want to thank all of you for your willingness to serve. The children of this city will appreciate it, and their parents. Additionally, to assist this commission in their efforts, staff support will be provided by the Mayor's Office of Policy Planning and Coordination, the Mayor's Office of Community Empowerment and Opportunity, and the city's Finance Department. The recommendations of this commission to implement universal pre-K in Philadelphia would, of course, need to build on state resources because we know, even with proposed state increases, there will still be thousands of 3- and 4-year-olds without access to high-quality pre-K. And that is something that we must work to address. Studies show that there are tangible benefits to early learning for children who participate in early education programs. They do better in school overall, have better social skills, have fewer behavioral problems, are less likely to be enrolled in special education classes, are more likely to graduate from high school, are less likely to be incarcerated later in life, and have a greater earning potential over their lifetime. Other cities like Chicago, New York, San Francisco, and Boston have already provided preschool education for their children. Those cities know that the savings down the line can be tremendous just by providing educational resources at an early age. If our city is going to continue to lead and grow in the 21st century, we must improve student outcomes at all levels of education. We must lower the poverty rate. We must fight to eliminate disparities. And we must provide opportunities for all of our children to help them succeed in life. To put it simply, children benefit greatly from high-quality early educational opportunities, and those benefits have a ripple effect through our workforce, economies, and communities. But most importantly, they just make our young people that much better and prepared for success. And so with that, let me ask Sharon to make some remarks. I mentioned to her and teased her already that a bunch of years ago, probably, I don't know, 17, 18 years ago, when I was trying to figure out, when Lisa and I were trying to figure out preschool options for Olivia, we looked to Sharon's organization and a guidebook that they produced on great early education programs for kids. We found one through her organization, and certainly we've seen the great benefits of good preschool opportunity for that young lady and many, many others throughout our city and the region. So with that, Sharon, why don't you come on up? It's nice to finally meet you.
Yes.
Thank you. Take care.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Reverend Sharon Easterling, and I've been the director of DeVacy for just over 20 years. So on behalf of our 2,000 members and all of those who work in early childhood settings all over the city, I'm really honored to accept the role of co-chair of this commission. In recent weeks, we've had a front row seat to history-making events, haven't we? Now, the work for justice goes on, but today we're a little bit closer to a society that honors diversity, provides health care for its citizens, and faces down its own troubled history. So as we launch the Commission on Universal Pre-K in Philadelphia today, we're putting another stake in the ground for justice. Today in our city, there are over 100,000 children under the age of 5. More than 60,000 of these children are in low-income households, and well over 30,000 are growing up in extreme poverty. The surest pathway out of poverty is education, but the achievement gap is so wide for so many children that they will never catch up. High-quality early childhood education is a game changer, but we have to find a way to serve more than 25% of our kids. More than 80% of Philadelphia voters acknowledge that with their vote on primary election day in May. And they have asked us, this commission, to find a way to give high-quality preschool experiences to every child in Philadelphia. I want every kid growing up in Philadelphia to have the same kind of quality experience that Olivia had, and I know the mayor joins me in that goal. So now our work begins. Together, we will work to identify strategies to build the supply of high-quality programs, to expand a skilled workforce, and maybe most daunting, to fully fund these services. High-quality programs are not cheap, but make no mistake, they're far less costly than providing 12 years of special education services. Juvenile justice, incarceration, welfare dependency, and chronic health problems, all of which are ameliorated when children get off to a good start in life. I look forward to working with my colleagues who collectively bring a wealth of skills and experiences to this critically important work. And we look forward to delivering a plan to the city's leaders early next year. So the time has come to give every child in our city the opportunity to fulfill their promise. If we faithfully meet this challenge in just a few years, we will be able to say that we had a front row seat when history was made for all young children in Philadelphia. Thank you for being here today.
And before we go to the Q&A, I got myself both excited and distracted, and I needed to make sure that we also recognized Charlene Kimball, who is on the commission as well. Charlene, thank you very, very much. If you were any closer to me, you'd have been sitting on the podium, but I just lost my place for a second. I think with that, we'd be glad to try to answer any questions, and I want to ask the commission members, whenever we close, if we could all gather up here at the front, and we'll take a photo. Any questions from the news meeting?
Well, there will be some opportunities early on for public comment. So the commission's going to meet every month, and then there will be work groups in between. And then sometime in September, we're going to open it up for a lot of feedback from the community, and then we'll come back after we have the plan in February and March for more comments from the community. But our plan is to have a draft of our recommendations in January, give a lot of time for feedback, and then to adopt a final plan in March.
And part of the design there, of course, was such that that information would come in to the mayor and city council in March of 2016, such that they would, if I'm remembering correctly, in terms of the legislation, they actually have to vote on the proposal by the commission. And secondly, there would be the opportunity during that time frame, of course, if there are necessary changes to the city budget that's going on in that winter-spring time frame, that the mayor and the council would then be able to make those adjustments in real time. But first, they have to actually adopt a plan by the commission. If that were not to happen, then the commission comes back into session, if you will, and goes back through the same process for the next year until there is an actual vote by council and approval by the mayor for their recommendations, which I think is one of the most brilliant aspects to the whole plan. I've talked about this at the U.S. Conference of Mayors just last week, and many of the mayors were really excited by that particular component. It really does bring a level, I think, of accountability and responsibility to the whole process, and that until there is a plan approved by the council and the mayor, this process will continue on. So I think it's brilliant. Yes?
Tell us a little bit more about the funding plans, the questions that you'll ask and plans that you present. You know, we hear that there's some other cities that are doing this. How do they fund their programs? And then in terms of the deliverables of this report, do you expect to present sort of a detailed kind of budget or for how it should be funded and where the funding should come from, or is it more of a case of
Madam Chair.
asking, you know, sort of some statements of funding principles?
Sure. Well, that's an easy question. Well, we do know that other cities have figured out how to do this, so we're going to be looking to those models. And I think if we don't have the details that are needed to, put the money on the table, then it's not a very useful plan. So we're about to dig into the research, but we know it can be done, and we know that it must be done.
Anything else? You look like you're struggling. Yeah.
On this literacy side, just in a little bit that we heard talking, I heard a lot of different interesting things coming up, facilities questions, questions of ethics, and who gets kind of what sort of funding for what. Just run us off a list of some of the things, some of the specific questions and issues this commission is going to be.
Sure. So, so what does it cost to provide high quality? What are the needs around physical space? What are the needs around workforce? You made me think of one. Oh gosh, I forget. Those are you had a. Go ahead.
Are there any questions about how to teach this? That is, do you have questions about how pre-K for this?
About what quality looks like?
Yeah, or is it really just a question of how to fund it and staff it?
It's more a question of how to fund it and staff it. We have really decisive literature on the elements of program quality about what that looks like. Now, we will have some debate about how that. But I've thought of the answer. The other answer to your question is who should deliver this, right? Should it just be something that happens in the public school domain? Should it be a mixed delivery system? So those are some of the questions we're going to grapple with.
I mean, I think the true reality here is that there are a number of high-quality pre-K providers. We know how to educate children. The issue is that every child does not, and every parent does not have access to a high-quality pre-K slot for their child. To do this well and do it right, so we know what high quality is. The question really is, how do you pay for it? How do you make it sustainable? And not take away resources from what we're already spending on educational activities for kids. There will be a cost, but I think, as I said at the Running Start press conference, the cost of the alternative in terms of lost potential for young people, educational opportunity, issues of crime and public safety, incarceration, SNAP payments, welfare costs. I mean, there's a whole litany of costs that come as a result of not spending upfront on 3-year-olds. So you're going to pay for it one way or the other. It's going to be a whole hell of a lot cheaper to invest in these kids early on, or you're going to try to fix broken adults. That really is the bottom line of this whole thing. So I think with that, why don't we kind of wrap up? Thank you, and we're going to take a historic picture. Thanks.